And we are live. Haha, thank you all for joining. Um, Today's talk, we're going to do a little rambling on history, basically the last, let's say, 110 years, and current history, what's going on in America now. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat, but I think no one is there today, so that's easy enough. Um, Thank you, Rin, for coming. Thank you, Smurkus, for coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought let's start with what's going on in America now when we talk about the political upheaval and the behavior of how do you call it, radicals and politically active people. Rin, how do you see stuff happening in America at the moment?
Uh, I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2 at the moment, to be honest.
So you haven't really been paying attention.
No, not really. I do know that there is a conflict about whether YouTube is censoring us or not. And I made a video on my take on it. It'll be airing on Thursday. I don't know what time Thursday because I've been going through this insomnia issue. But I did talk about what I think on whether YouTube is censoring us on Thursday's video. Other than that, I've been playing in Guild Wars too.
Okay. Well, okay, let's start with that then. Do you think YouTube is censoring us?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. I don't want to say too much because I didn't make a video on it, but the ways that I don't think they're censoring us is I don't think demonetization is censoring us. However, I do think that if you're subscribed to like Sargon, they shouldn't unsub you from him, or any YouTuber for that matter. Or if you they shouldn't throttle comments. They shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. So you have the feeling that's happening a lot then?
It's apparently happening that YouTube is throttling comments, and other people are complaining that you know um they're being unsubbed from their favorite creator, and they know that they're subbed to them, and they're mysteriously unsubbed. But when it comes to demonetization, it's just that McDonald's, Toyota, the British government, they're taking their ads off YouTube, and YouTube is trying to appease them, and then they're trying to make their content more viewer friendly. And I have to agree with harmful opinions on it that maybe McDonald's doesn't want their ad on some Nazi guy, praising Hitler, So I could understand why companies don't want to endorse videos that they think are malicious. But and come on, YouTube isn't a stable career anyway. People could drop you for any reason. There were some big time atheists, and you never hear anything from them anymore. Anything could put you in a position where you need to find a real job. So I don't think the monetization parts is censorship, but I do think throttling comments and unsubbing people from their favorite content creators is censorship.
Well, yeah, there is that, and there are indeed a lot of YouTubers that either we don't hear from anymore or that have
Like
been already
Fred.
blocked. I mean, if we
Yeah,
look, for example, what was his name? The Harem Sheikh. He's been gone. He's been destroyed.
Fred is another one. Fred was really, really big on YouTube. He was on Nickelodeon, and now I don't hear about him anymore. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has, but I don't hear about Fred anymore. It's just like being an actor, like how some people are actual actors and they work for Hollywood, then they get fat, and then you never hear from them anymore. Or it's kind of like there are bands who have that one great album, and then they disbanded, and you can't find them anymore, and they had to find real work.
Hmm.
YouTube is like that. It's not a stable career. So I feel sorry for the people who quit their regular jobs to do YouTube full time, but it has never been a stable career. I mean, especially when like atheism was blowing up, and when people were making atheism videos and they were getting like really, really big, and then you just don't hear about them anymore, and people don't watch their content anymore. This has never been a stable career that you could do for 50 years and retire off of. This has always been one of those careers that's, if you're lucky, you can make a lot of money, but it's never been a type of career you could do long term.
No, that is true. That is true. How do you see this, Mark? The how do you call it? The Yeah, censorship is maybe too big a word, but the way that YouTube is channeling who is and is not seen on YouTube.
I still get most notifications of everyone I follow, so I don't really notice that I'm being, or that people are being censored or anything. I don't know. But I've also been out of the loop a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I have to admit.
Yeah, it does seem from the couple videos that I've seen that I don't know. It's kind of the whole us versus them mentality, especially when you're talking about response videos on social justice people,
Hmm.
and it seems like, yeah, they might not say to go and flag people, but I think there's a little bit on both sides that are doing.
Well, I am seeing what Rin was talking about. I am seeing that on YouTube. I'm seeing that on Google, but I'm also seeing it on Twitter. If I see how many people have gone from Twitter, um, it seems to be that there is, um, yeah, should we say, a left wing push to make certain ideas and certain concept unheard.
Hmm.
Is that fair to say?
I'm sorry, mate. Could you repeat the sentence?
Well, it does seem that certain viewpoints are being barred, made difficult to hear or see. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but that's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, that is true. Well,
That's
that
been
that
going
is
on for a while now, isn't it?
that is kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Because people seem to think that whatever is happening now is totally a bad thing and blah 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 blah. But it isn't new.
No.
And it's kind of funny because in America at the moment, Antifa is really big. Antifa used to be big in Europe as well. I can remember in the 80s and 90s they were all over the place in the most negative way.
Was
But
there this big group in Germany,
yep,
pretty famous?
especially around big meetings, big European meetings and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what I find funny is that Antifa, anti-fascistic action, seems to have forgotten what fascism is based on.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't seem to recognize that anymore. But fascism was the answer to communist and left-wing extremism.
Hmm.
I mean, fascism is basically a pluribus unum, out of many one, working together.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about well, it had a strong nationalistic influence as well back in the 19th century, in the 20th century. But that's because in those periods of time, everything had a strong nationalistic, how do you call it, nationalistic center. I was hoping Martius Filius would be here because his knowledge of the Roman Empire is pretty big. And if we look at what fascism is basically neo-Romanism, Romanism, I don't know. But it's basically trying to bring back the Roman Empire a little bit. Because in the Roman Empire...
just really authoritarian?
Sorry?
Isn't fascism like really authoritarian? Or however the hell you say that.
We like to think nowadays that it is, but I'm not really sure if you can look at it as a totally authoritarian thing, to be honest. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Oh, no, I'm mumbling to myself. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Because fascism was started because there were lots of strikes in Italy, and there were a lot of left-wing organizations, communistic and left liberal extremism. They were protesting and making life difficult for a lot of people. And this basically caused Mussolini to start with how do you call it? Fascism. Which is well, scary, to be honest. But yeah, the main reason why he started that was because something had to be done. Which is weird, to me anyway. And now we see the anti-fascists claiming that they need to stand up against fascism and well, they are not really standing up to fascism. They are creating fascism again, because what we see now is that people are standing up against these right-wing extremists again, and there's a new, how do you call it, run for power. People trying to being overpowering to the other one. We've seen a lot of Antifa stuff where they were attacking shops and people, but now we are seeing right-wing stuff where they're attacking Antifa people.
Well, violence begets violence, of course.
Yeah, that is unfortunately very true. But it's kind of double. And Tomasz, I understand what you say. I wouldn't say that it was an answer, because Hitler, Stalin, and Trotsky were friends back in Vienna. But Hitler wasn't a fascist. Stalin wasn't a fascist. And Trotsky wasn't a fascist. Mussolini was a fascist. Hitler was a socialist.
Fascism is a form of radical authoritarian nationalism. Opposed to liberalism, Marxism, and anarchism, fascism is usually placed on the far right within the traditional left-right spectrum.
Where is it usually placed in the left-right spectrum?
On the far right.
Yeah, that's how people like to tell it, which is partly true.
I just
yeah. You're just what, wiki it? Yep, yeah. But that's the idea that people often like to think. But it's kind of funny, because if you look at fascism, Mussolini's fascism was basically based on, okay, we need to work together to make the state great again. So it did have a strong nationalistic influence. But at the same time, the nationalism in Italy wasn't as strong as the nationalism in Nazi Germany.
True.
And Nazi Germany, a lot of people also consider right-wing, but it was National Socialism. So if National Socialism is right-wing, what is communism then?
Isn't communism the most extreme form of left?
But socialism and communism are, well, basically next to each other. So how come that we now suddenly see National Socialism and fascism as extreme right, and communism basically as extreme left?
I don't know.
But I think it's because the whole left and right dichotomy never really worked. What do you think, Rin?
I think it's about as you know, in America, we keep getting further and further and further to the left. Before we were more to the right, we were more Republican. but now we're just getting further and further and further to the left. And I think that there is, it's kind of like, the winners writes history, like you want to get your hands into history books. And if you want to go further to the left, you can't have like Bernie Sanders being a socialist and Hitler being a socialist, because then that doesn't benefit the left, and the winners get their hands on history. So I just think that, when it comes to, I just think that it's kind of a lot like getting your hands on history to make a party more likable. That's probably conspiracy theorist, but that's what I think, though.
I think history is incorrectly taught at the moment as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That plays part in it anyways.
No, I totally agree with you on that.
Certain things that we can and cannot say in what happened during in history, like we discussed about the whole white slavery thing.
Yeah, that's the one thing I really find difficult.
Yeah, white slavery is never mentioned in America, at least not where I'm from.
No,
Even when I talk to people on Twitter, people don't seem to know that whites were ever slaves. Many people didn't even know. Even I didn't know until relatively recently. So it seems like people are not being taught about white slavery, only about black slavery, which I feel like leads to white guilt, because it's kind of like when you look at Black history, like Black History Month, Black people are either great, amazing inventors who've invented all these things, or Black people are being oppressed as slaves. And when you look into world history, you just see, Hitler, Nazi Germany, and you see, white people oppressing other groups. And I just think it's just history in the school system creating a sense of white guilt. Black people, inventors or slaves. White people, Hitler, and war, and uh, colonialism. Why not focus on white inventors as well as black inventors? Or why
yeah,
not focus on black people having white people as slaves as well as white people having blacks as slaves? Why not be 50-50? Like these set of black people who held white people as slaves, these set of white people who had black people as slaves.
but that's one of the things I find funny about America, to be honest. I mean, they have a two-party system, and one of the two parties always was in favor of slavery until they totally lost that position. And the other party is the Republicans, and people seem to have forgotten that.
Yeah, the Democrats seems to have gotten their hands on the history books, and it would have been nice if the Republican Party just were to fix the errors that were in the history books. But but for some reason, even when Bush was in power, even when we had the Bushes, they didn't just put the history back to what it really is.
Yeah, it's weird though. I don't know what caused that. The people in America totally forgot their own history. I mean, everyone's talking about how the Democrats are the only ones that are good for
Nothing new under the sun.
Ain't nobody. But yeah, back to my point. The Democrats are the only one that are good for the blacks and the Latinos and anyone else that comes from a different country. When in reality, they've always been the ones trying to segregate society.
You're racist.
That's okay.
And they are still trying to segregate society. It's still ongoing.
Well, yeah, but now they're trying to segregate.
With safe spaces where white people are not allowed in the safe spaces, or men being rapists,
Well, yeah, but they basically segregate. They're not segregating under the guise of them being different now. They're segregating under the guise of wanting equality, because apparently equality equals segregation, which is what they tried to push before, and no one had any of it. That's why we have the civil rights movement. That's why things played out the way they did. That's why everyone is now on equal terms and can do whatever they want. We don't have black-only drinking fountains and black-only toilets. And
I don't know, though. I mean, it seems pretty counterproductive, because now we do have black-only areas and black-only groups where people can go. But now it's instigated by the blacks.
yeah,
Ain't that a bitch?
it's like
I
we tried to
think
get.
that's what-
We tried to give this. We tried to give this to you 60 years ago, and you told us no.
I think that's what the Democratic Party wanted, make people want it for themselves, make the other group ask for it instead of forcing it on people, just make people willingly choose it.
Yeah, which is
If you go
which
down,
is-
if you go down that path, though, you would kind of have to accept that for the past 60 years, the Democrats have secretly been breeding everyone under them to be racist against themselves.
It's weird, though, and this is not something new. I mean, we saw this, as I said, during the 19th, 20th century turnover. I mean, this is the left wing, not the left wing, but the left extreme thoughts in their extreme, and this is causing right wing. Well, how do you call it? Recourse. Violence back, because violence begets violence, as Smurkus said a moment ago.
Eye for an eye. Almost
Yeah.
biblical in a sense.
Yep.
But I mean, if we look at the Antifa in America now, they're talking about, but the right wings, hit a fascist, hit a Nazi. But they're the ones advocating for violence, and that's causing people to stand up and say, you know what, Antifa, let's kick their ass.
Realistically, though, I mean, that's a pretty easy way to grasp, or that's a pretty easy way to get the general public stirred up and on your side. Because, I mean, growing up, it wasn't exactly uncommon for you to basically rationalize, well, would you ever hit anyone in violence? Well, yeah, I'd punch a Nazi because they want to kill everyone. They're horrible, horrible people. That was something that we said growing up. And now people are taking that to an almost literal sense while saying you should be punching Nazis. Well, okay, but the definition of a Nazi is no longer as clear as it was back then, because you people are using Nazi like some kind of catch-all term for anyone you don't like.
Yeah, right now
It was very easy to argue for punching a Nazi when the term Nazi was very definitively referring to the horrible, 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 horrible acts that they committed in the 1940s. It was easier to rationalize back then, but nowadays Nazi is becoming almost as common a term thrown around as racist or sexist or homophobic. It has no punch to it anymore. Realistically, doing this is probably going to put things like people who are legitimately Nazis, it's going to bring them out to the public anymore, because now that being a Nazi now that everyone considers being Nazi basically a fucking joke, you're going to start seeing a lot of them more, shall we say, comfortable to come out and start spewing what they say, because people are going to either think they're A, trolling, or B, no one's going to care.
Or people are going to punch them.
And some people are going. But that's another thing. I mean, if you look at what they claim that a Nazi is, and they claim, okay, well, we can punch a Nazi because this is what they do and this is what they stand for. They're basically making such a broad definition of it that they themselves fall under that very same definition. I mean, not too long ago, I saw a video of a hamster boy, Michael Rowlands, and the way he describes that, well, it's okay, because if they're in favor of this and this and this, you can punch them. Yeah, mate, but you just mentioned what they should be in favor of. That counts for every big group out there, including feminism.
I can't argue that.
But I'm scared a little bit, I guess, because we're marching in to a black versus white. No, not black versus white skin color thing, but ideological, a black versus white clash of people, or a right versus left clash of people, when in reality politics isn't completely left or completely right. I mean,
No, honestly, that's one of the biggest problems with the American political system is it has been completely left or completely right for so long. It's really kind of hard to not slip into identity politics. Really, when you start trying to dig into, get an understanding of it yourself, you tend to find that these two groups basically hold opinions on everything. And if you don't agree with every opinion, you don't belong in that group.
Yeah.
but that's scary, because I mean,
It is terrifying. I absolutely agree with you, but that's the reality of the life I live.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I mean, I can still remember that just before the inauguration of Trump, but the months before that, we saw a lot of videos on YouTube where left-wing people are attacking right-wing people because they voted for Trump. We've seen this happening for months. And now in the last, let's say, month, maybe a little bit more, we see right-wing people fighting back against Antifa and left-wing extremism.
Well, now they're in a better position to do so, honestly.
Also, I would say that people are
because-
just getting fed up.
People were getting fed up with it long up to that point, but realistically, we couldn't do anything because any large gathering, any real reaction that we took would just be slandered by the media. It'd be condemned by the government. Essentially, it was viewed as you were fucked one way, fucked the other. It didn't matter what you were doing. But now that the government has basically pulled a complete 180 in terms of what it's comprised of, right-wing people are a lot more, I've noticed, at least, in my day-to-day, I see a lot more of them, a lot more proudly proclaiming that they are right-wing just because we have that victory now. So I don't feel like I'm going to be shamed or pushed, because that's another thing that the left does and did and will do. Even the school systems when I was growing up is if you came from right-wing parents, the teachers would shun you or they would look at you down, and kids would shun you because you came from a right-wing household, which means you weren't right in the head. And for the longest time, we always had a left government. Now that we have a right one, people are more emboldened to start saying, you know what, no, fuck you. I have my own opinion.
Do we really have a right-wing government in America, though? I mean, look at how many times
It doesn't matter realistically what it is, Modwain. What matters is what the label is, and that's what people are looking for. People more are willing to identify with a label than they are with anything their actual party identifies with. If you go around and you ask anyone, right or left wing, why they are for that party, 9 times out of 10 it's going to boil down to 1 or 2 issues, and no one's going to give a fuck about what the rest of their party says.
Yeah, but I mean, well, yeah, maybe you're right on that. It's beyond realistic to me. For example, if we look at how many times the Republicans try to repeal Obamacare, and now they finally have a president that wants to do that too, and they vote against it. No, they actually block him. The Republicans are blocking Trump on this. So what the hell is going on? I mean, it isn't a right-left dichotomy. There is more going on, and we don't
there's
really
a lot
know the
more
half
going
of it.
on, but I can kind of speculate as to what's going on.
Okay, I'm curious.
The right wing didn't want Trump to win. Honest to God, the right wing didn't want Trump to run on their ticket from the beginning.
Yeah, that is true.
They really, honest to God, did not. But now that Trump had the nomination, they had to, by party, either back their party, or they would destroy all credibility that their party had to begin with. Because if even they weren't behind their party, they would start tearing apart from the inside out. Realistically, it already is falling apart from the inside out, but it would be publicly falling apart from the inside out, and that would do 10 times more damage than anything it's doing right now. Now that Trump's in charge, their whole idea is, hey, now that he's in charge, at least we can control him.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I don't think they can control him, to be honest.
Well,
maybe
you said yourself they voted against everything he did. They can basically block him and have more of a...
Yeah, but...
They can essentially assassinate his standing and character as president by not letting him do anything that he wants to do, which would essentially destroy all his credibility to begin with, and destroy the Republican Party from the inside out. I think they just want to get even. They don't want to do anything. Everyone laughed at him when they said he was going to run, both Republican and Democrat. And then he stole the Republican ticket. And won the actual race. And America has a long history of salty assholes sitting in our government positions.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wonder, I might be wrong on this, but I wonder whether them being salty about Trump being in the position that he is will eventually get new people into these Congress seats that either will clearly speak out against him or clearly speak out in favor of him.
Realistically, probably not.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I would love to see it, because at least then we'd get some new faces sitting in the seats that aren't racking up 30 years worth of pension checks. But regardless, I don't see that happening, because Congress is really good about staying what they want, or keeping the people they want in the seats.
Yeah, it is quite a strong status quo. But if we look at what happened turn of the century, when we look at Italy with the rise of fascism, there was a long status quo then as well, and there was a long status quo with a strong left-leaning government, and then all of a sudden fascism came.
So are you calling us fascist now?
No, but it is something. Fascism was, if nothing else, a people's movement as well.
I can't deny that.
So
it very much was.
If we look at Trump, this is a people's movement too.
I want to say yes, it is, but it's not the movement that they thought it'd be.
But it never is. That's the problem. It's almost as if we're always going from one extreme to the other extreme, and we miss everything in between.
Isn't that the nature of the universe, though? Everything bounces back and forth until eventually it reaches complete entropy and dies.
Yeah, but I think that the media tries to keep people emotional, because during the election time, and it happens every election time pretty much, people are worked up and overly emotional. They don't have a calm decision. They don't make a really calm, cool.
The media, I don't mean to cut you off, but the media lost all sorts of credibility when they started focusing on police chases and bullshit stories rather than actual news.
Yeah, but I'm saying that pretty much every election season, people are really emotional. They're intense. They are emotional as opposed to calm, cool.
Yeah, that's what they feed on. They want that because that's how they get their views. That's how they get their advertising. That's how they get their money. That's how they stay in business, which is why they will fuel that to get their ratings through the roof. And they tried to, holy crap, my computer, okay. And they tried to do that before.
But this is also why we
fall apart.
But this is why we keep going from one extreme to the other extremes, because people are not calm during election season, and people are going to make the better decisions if they're calmer. Then emotions running on high, where the Democrats are the enemy or the Republicans are the enemy, and we need to stop trying or we need to stop Hillary. Like if Hillary gets in the office, all these terrible things are going to happen. If Trump gets into the office, all these bad things happen. When emotions are on high, people are not going to make the best decisions. It would be better, even during the time of like, we still had Sean Kasich and Jim Webb and Ron Paul. If we could just become and listen to all sides, listen to the GOP debates, listen to the DNC debates, and try to make a calm, level-headed, rational decision.
And that is a great idea, but with all respect, you are asking the human race to do something it is not physically capable of doing.
Why are they not physically capable of doing it?
Humanity in and of itself is a very violent, very aggressive, very top dog type of species. You're asking basically a room full of bottled emotions that can't control themselves to sit down and control themselves together. And as long as there are two voices in one room, they're not going to agree on everything. You will not be able to get a reasoned discussion. Eventually, it's going to just break down into yelling with each other.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if we look at the world history, if we look at most cultures, that's basically true. But in all fairness, Western cultures have done a lot to bring world peace. They haven't always succeeded, I'll grant you that. But
I actually disagree. I don't think they've brought world peace. I think they've stopped war.
Interesting. So what's the difference? No, seriously, what's the difference? Nobody?
Peace. We've just started going at war with each other.
We lost you, mate. That's why. I didn't hear what you were saying. You said we didn't bring peace, we just stopped war. And then I said, okay, interesting. So what's the difference? And then we didn't hear you anymore.
I apologize. My internet cut out. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine now.
Okay. What I said was we didn't bring peace. We only stopped war. We have shifted our focus from wars with others, our tribalistic ideals of sticking together, fighting the guys with the bigger sticks on the other side of the mountain, into, okay, well, we're at peace with the other guys on the side of the mountain, but we're only at peace with them because they're fighting with each other. We're fighting with each other. And there's just a lot of civil unrest. We've moved from fighting on the battlefield to fighting in our homes, fighting on the streets, fighting everyone we come across. Maybe not with swords, but maybe not with swords, but definitely with words and lawsuits. And we have fundamentally changed the tools of war to everyday items. And we have changed our brothers in arms to our families, and we have changed our opponents to our neighbors.
Okay. I'm trying to grasp what you just said.
Did I say something smart or something stupid?
Well, listen, it could be both. I don't know.
I mean, I do think people can have a calm, rational conversation. Like when it comes to like the Hillary Trump thing, like I voted for Trump, my mother voted for Hillary Clinton, and it didn't affect us at all.
Let me clarify a bit. I'm not saying or not trying to say that there can never be a rational discussion of the issues between two people. What I'm more or less trying to get across is humanity as a whole, as our culture, if you look at our history, is not capable of doing that on a mass scale. You get the peaceful resolutions when you break it down to individual problems. When you're dealing with things on a whole, with societies and cultures clashing, you're really going to have a hard time getting peaceful between them both.
But isn't that because humans are tribalistic?
That's kind of my point.
But isn't it because it's kind of a lot like the people on top benefits from us fighting, like it wouldn't benefits either party if people just got along really well. People being divisive on political issues keep them more attached to the party that they're with.
Yeah.
Well,
You're not going to be too attached to your party if it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. But if there is more tension between people, you're going to the us versus them mentality grows. You're going to feel more loyal and more dedicated to your party. You're going to be more likely to give it donations. You're going to be more likely to be really helpful to it than in its time where people just getting along. Not only that, but I mean, our government does some shit. If we are busy arguing with each other, we're not going to be focused anything that the government does. Like if the government commits war crimes, if we're too busy fighting amongst ourselves and our government does war crimes, we're probably more busy arguing with our neighbor than focusing on what the government's doing.
well, you also have to realize that 9 times out of 10, these people don't need to focus on what the government's doing, or they should, but they're not going to because they have bigger, more immediate problems at hand. Like, let's take Farmer Joe with his aggressive hatred of his neighbor next door, shall we say. Sure, he's going to spend about maybe an hour out of the day complaining that his neighbor got the new tractor, and he should be focusing on the fact that the government's trying to fuck him in the ass on taxes to get as much as they can and buy his crops for as little as possible because he sells to the government. But his main problem, and what he's going to be focusing on day after day after day, is where am I going to plant? What crops am I rotating this year? What am I getting this year? Am I going to be able to put food on my table? Can I feed my kids? Can I feed my dog? Is my tractor working? Oh, my car broke down. Now I have to focus on that. They don't have time, nor the energy, nor the effort to care about anything the government's doing.
Yeah, there is a point in that. I mean, you're busy with your day-to-day life more than politics and international politics.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, there is that is true. But the problem becomes apparent and dangerous, especially in Europe, where the country isn't as big. So you're more, how do you call it, condemned to be together. I think that might be a good way of describing it.
Confined,
fair enough.
constricted, choking,
All
dying.
all those things. So, but yeah, it brings you closer together. So whatever goes wrong internationally and socially within your community will hit you more. I mean, if you look in America, there is these areas they will call the flyover country. Most people there don't live in the same problems that they have in the big cities and in Europe.
I can say as someone who lived in a town that is slowly becoming part of a city, I'm starting to pick up a lot of problems that I didn't have growing up.
Yeah. So this is why a lot of the flyover country, once again, is talking against what's going on now, and they want it stopped. And this is also why a lot of Europeans have a problem with the way things are developing now.
Realistically, can you blame them though?
No. Oh, no, I can't. That's the worst part, because I can totally understand it. I mean, if we have rules, if we have what we feel that people should behave like, and if we have social standing and we basically want people to behave in a certain way, then that's what should happen. You can't have it that you have Group A that needs to adhere to certain rules and Group B, well, you know what? Group B doesn't have to adhere to these same rules because they're whatever, oppressed or different color, or they don't speak the language well, or bullshit like that. So there is a huge double standard, and we see this in the left in Europe, but we see this in the left in America as well. Hell, I mean, we have Sweden, which is the biggest feministic country in the world. They are the openest country when it comes to, like, okay, we don't want borders, we don't want the military, we want everyone in there. And they have the highest rape number in the Western world. But they're a feminist country. How the hell is that possible?
Because feminism is not a stable ideology to run a country off of.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But I mean, what more?
Feminism there's intersectional feminism where all cultures are equal and we must
Intersectional feminism is not real. Intersectional feminism is an excuse to get other people who aren't women to complain like women.
Well, yes.
It is not a thing. It is not a thing.
It's also to get black women to feel more oppressed than white women because intersectionality. But at the same time, how can you have a government based on feminism and at the same time be the rape capital of the world?
Because feminism is not well equipped to deal with the realities of the situation of running a government. We covered this. What more do you want?
Yeah, but
Feminism.
I would say it's the philosophy of intersectional feminism because it protects the Muslims. It's really protective of the Muslims.
Well, that may be true. Hi there, Roman, by the way. That may be true, but it doesn't make sense. How can you say we are for equality, we're for the protection of men and women, and at the same time ignore the very women you claim you want to protect?
Because you're protecting.
Because all cultures are equal, and you cannot criticize Islam because criticizing Islam is racist. Criticizing any terrible action a Muslim does is
No,
racist.
criticizing Islam isn't racist. They have a new word for that. It's Islamophobic.
Yeah.
And you have a good reason to be so, because it's a fucking savage ideology.
You know, one of these days, we're not going to call it being racist to blacks. We're going to call it African-phobic.
There are white people in Africa too, though.
Yeah, but they're being oppressed and they are being murdered.
No, there aren't white people in Africa. That's a joke. That's a myth.
No, South Africa has a few.
No. South Africa is not part of Africa. It's a white nation that they stole from the African people. They don't belong there. They are British people who are far from their home.
Yeah, well. I'm sorry, Roman. What did you want to say, mate?
Oh, I thought they were Belgian.
No, that was Congo. Congo was Belgium.
They're fucking stupid is what they are. You won't catch me living in Africa, and that's not because there are black people there. That's because it's fucking hot and the internet sucks.
Well, I don't care about the internet sucking, but it's all fucking hot.
It is hot, yeah.
If you're expecting me to move... If you are expecting me to move halfway across the fucking world on a fucking dime or a moment's notice with no expectation, you better be fucking setting internet over there because I'm going to be bitched out by a lot of people.
Just give me somewhere where the summers are moderate and the winters are fucking cold.
Give me somewhere where the winters are freezing and the summers are colder.
Siberia.
I got no problem with Russia. It's white.
Anyway.
Well, Sweden is
and
nice.
It's got white people in it.
Bring my axe and bring my sword, but Sweden is nice.
Bring your axe and bring your sword. I'll bring my machine gun.
Yeah, you can do that too. I don't know. I'm a hands-on kind of guy.
I am too, but I'm a hands-on kind of guy after I've already put 2 in your kneecaps and can hear you scream.
Wuss.
Nah, man.
Well, but
I just like my prey. I mean, I like my victims. I mean, I like my attackers to know just what they're in for, and I don't like them to fight back. I'd like to keep my eyes and my stomach where they are.
there is that, and you prefer to stand on the roof and not be chucked off of it.
That too, but I'm not gay, so I wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You don't have to be gay. It's kind of like being a Nazi. You don't have to be a Nazi to be a Nazi.
No, but I can just... All I have to do, because I know the Quran better than any of them fucking do, I guarantee you, is recite a few verses, dress like a retard, and cover myself in sand, and I think I'd be good.
Well, I know that feeling. What did you want to say, Ronan? What did you want to say, mate?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just giggling.
Oh, okay. Well, Ren, you've been quiet for a while.
What exactly is the topic? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just rambling now, so never mind that.
All right.
We were
My
gonna
specialty.
talk about fascism, but we kind of drifted off topic a little bit.
We were gonna talk about fascism, but Hitler died 50 years ago.
Hitler wasn't a fascist. I don't know why people keep making that mistake. Hitler wasn't a fascist.
I no, he wasn't. I don't know exactly what you just classify him as a Nazi, right?
Yes, which is a National Socialist, which is
Yeah,
what he
because
was.
there's a Nazi party in Canada, but people equate Nazism with fascism because over here especially it's kind of a big thing. Like when you think Nazis, the first thing that people think of are Mussolini and Hitler, and
Yeah, but Mussolini wasn't.
Mussolini wasn't a Nazi, but he was part of the what do they call them, the Axis powers or whatever.
Yeah, he was, but that still
And
doesn't make him a Nazi.
It
Hell,
doesn't. I know it doesn't make him a Nazi. I know it. Me personally, I know it does not make him a Nazi. But it's just kind of like slang around here. You call Nazis fascism. You call Mussolini a Nazi. It's just the way it works. It's like calling shoes sneakers, even though sneakers are a specific type of shoe.
Right.
That's just the way it works around here.
I mean, if Mussolini is a Nazi, and the Western world, the America and UK, were fighting the Nazis, so they are called the Allies, right?
Yeah.
So the Allies are the good guys, right?
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of
Russia
the
was an
British.
ally too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say.
Yeah, that's another thing that I
Insist.
don't get, because people will equate the Germans and the Russians together, and I'm like, wait, didn't the Russians fight the Germans?
Yeah.
Isn't Russia technically the reason that Germany kind of lost? Because they were fighting the Russians, and they were fighting us at the same time.
And they were fighting the Russians in the winter.
But another thing, America used to be allies with the Germans before Japan attacked them. And because Japan attacked them, they got drawn into the war in Europe as well.
See, now, I never specifically heard that we were allies with the Germans.
Oh, yeah.
I just heard that we had, because what was it? Germany tried to invade us through Mexico or convince Mexico to attack us.
No.
One of those things.
No.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that was one of the things that they had taught us.
But as far as I remember, that never happened. Mexico had nothing to do with anything. I mean,
I know they didn't, but I'm trying to remember where that came from. Let me look that up, because that's something that's stuck in my mind, and I feel stupid.
I mean, Alex Jones shit, right?
yeah,
I know.
That's when the Lizard Man came out.
Hey, everybody needs a little Alex Jones in their life from time to time.
That is
My frogs aren't gay enough, so sure, why not?
indeed.
I have a question for you. How
It's
does,
just a fun character to watch, if you ask me.
how does a Canadian Nazi work?
Yeah, okay,
What
here's
do
what
they
it was.
do?
No.
Like, they come over your house and sort of like be rude to you, or
Here's what it was. It was during the First World War. It was Germany proposed to Mexico that if the United States were to join the war, Mexico should join and side with the Central Powers. In appreciation, if the Central Powers were to win, Mexico would recuperate the territory of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. That's what it was.
Okay.
No, Octane.
Hi there, Octane.
Hey, I'm just gonna join in just a little bit. My class is taking a break for around 10 to 15 minutes, so just a little quick short join in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
How is the gender study going?
Oh no, actually, I did ask one of my counselors what classes I should take for my major or trying to get into another university, and one of them said physiology, sociology, or something like that. And I think one of them
sociology
involves
isn't
about.
that bad.
I think I did found one about just politics and just about racism and how the government works and all that stuff. So I decided, no, I'm not gonna take that one.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get away from politics as best as I can, to be quite honest.
And then you join
let's
us
clap.
here. We are
No,
pretty
this is-
political at the moment.
You know, Warp. To be
No,
fair,
Okay.
Warp. To be fair, I got D's in school because I did not pay
I want
attention because I thought my teachers were all fucking retarded. Most of what I know is from remembering little bits that I bothered to pay attention to and bothering to research it on my own afterwards. So
Yeah. The thing is, it's just I want politician when it comes to like at least diverse politicians. I mean, here, look at this.
Oh, you want a joke?
No. Can you guys see me? Okay, here.
No.
Look at this picture. If you guys can see it.
Yes, more
Actually-
or less. Wait a second.
actually-
I'm going to try to.
Oh, here it is.
Uh-huh.
Here, if you can see it. No, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept fascist America. That sort of topic, right?
Fascism
Well-
is in America.
The thing is, fascism is a response to left-wing extremism, and we are seeing a lot of left-wing extremism.
No. Fascism is not a response to left-wing extremism. Fascism is left-wing extremism's response to regular people.
Yeah.
No,
They call us fascists.
yeah, but no, because if we look at the Italian history and the start and the rise of fascism, fascism was a cultural movement against communism and left-wing extremism.
Americans lost a battle to Canada when they sent Justin Bieber over here. We countered with Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with fascism. That's just blatant biological warfare.
Biological warfare?
Who
Right.
can cause the most bleeding eardrums?
Yeah, indeed.
Oh yes. Yeah, you're right. Rest in peace.
Biological warfare.
What about genetic warfare?
That's okay. We're all descended from Genghis Khan anyway.
I beg to differ, sir. I am descended from Jesus himself. I have come to
Well,
Earth.
That dude from
No,
Portugal.
no.
No, I have
No,
I have come to Earth in the age of the internet under the guise of nobody, just to deliver you all onto you my words, and it is you are all stupid.
No,
You
people
fucked
would
up.
argue. People would argue, be like, no, Keck is the one who created us.
Keck doesn't exist. I am Keck.
No, you said from Jesus.
I'm Keck. Keck came from Jesus.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Well, he should have flushed then, I guess.
Eh.
enough.
You know, I don't mind people being religious. You have to do what you have to do to make sense.
Oh
Uh,
please!
and-
I have a
Okay.
huge problem with people being religious.
I'd rather have them be religious than indoctrinated with SJW shit.
Exactly. Look, you're talking to somebody right now who's a Catholic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's not our fault, mate.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm saying is, look, here's this. I'm not killing anybody. I'm not trying to force.
No, look,
No,
we
that is true,
we
that is
understand and respect your right to be a Catholic, and we understand that you're not killing anyone. It's just the rest of us aren't ready to subject our assholes to the preacher's back room. So we
Yeah.
respect the right that you do, but it's not our business, bro.
Well, I don't believe that whole thing. I think Milo does, though.
I am just not willing to stretch my anal cheeks that big.
Also, your idea of baptism is just weak sauce. Sprinkling people, no, you gotta dunk them Protestant style.
Hey, Octane, by the way, I'm going to put your channels or the channels of everyone in the description. Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you link it in the hangout?
Just link my Twitter on the
Yeah,
page.
drop a link in the chat of the thingy.
I'm
the
on
Hangout.
I'm on mobile. I think the Smurkus.
Well, guys,
Because I do have Twitter, but I visit it about once a year or something. I'm not really. That's not true, but I'm not really on there anymore.
Well, guys,
Oh.
I love this conversation, but I have to run, and thank you for
that's
letting me
about
be a
right.
part of it.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks for coming again. See you
Anytime.
later, mate.
Later.
Take care, dude.
So, yeah. What are we on about? Totally lost my thread.
Anyway, the whole fascism and the group things these days, and yeah,
All I'm
isn't it
gonna
just
say-
everything is like want to feel good, so you join the group
Antifa.
that thinks that you like also, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
Isn't that how it
really-
usually goes? But now that we have all these fucking shit going on in colleges where certain ideologies are being pushed, isn't that a big part of the problem?
Yeah, I think it is, to be honest.
I think the problem is it's just branding. I think or was it guilt by association? I think that's my concern is.
Labeling people.
Yeah, I don't like to label people too much unless if they're okay with it. Like if they are okay being called a kek, fine, I'll call them a kek. But yeah, unlike
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk too much. There's too many people walking in this hallway, so I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah, but it is somewhat scary to me. It really is. I keep coming back to this, but it is scary to me that we are currently in a society that seems to be happy to be segregatory and negative towards those that they do not agree with.
Yeah.
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 They should teach you in fucking preschool, for all I'm concerned, that you might not like somebody, but that's not a reason to disrespect them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Or whatever,
Uh,
You don't go out hitting people because they think differently than you do.
no, and it's weird that people do this. To be honest,
Kind of either you come to a consensus about, okay, and usually that's let's just agree to disagree, and that whole thing. But these days, you disagree, you're a Nazi, everybody punch him.
yeah,
exactly.
it's weird.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Rin, you have been quiet for a while. Come on, bring us back with a few pearls of your wisdom.
Gotta go. I gotta take a quiz. All right. See ya.
Okay, good luck, Octane. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Later, dude.
Yeah,
Bye.
I mean, I wish people would just agree to disagree. It's kind of like, why punch people you disagree with? But it's not ubiquitous. It's not like it just happens everywhere. The Antifa is a fringe group, a very fringe group. You don't see these people everywhere.
But I mean,
They
if we
just
look,
make the news.
if we look at the Antifa, I mean, if we look at the stuff they're doing, the behavior, the way they are challenging the people around them, the way they are trying to entice anger and violence.
Aren't they just fucking hypocritical? Because
They
everything
are
do
very
is
hypocritical.
fascist.
They are. But what I also
Or is that my misunderstanding of it?
no, I totally agree with you. Or they seem to be the ones advocating violence.
It's like we're anti-fascist by doing fascist things.
Yeah, but it's the same as what we saw with Black Lives Matter half a year ago, constantly being out on the street and shouting in people's faces and trying to start fights, etc., etc.
And fucking hijacking shit that shouldn't be hijacked.
What is your take on that, Rin? I mean, you're a black woman, I think. So, I mean, obviously you have something to say on that.
Well, it's basically the ideology of feminism. It makes me think of Animal Farm too much. It's like feminists read Animal Farm by George Orwell and go, we want to adopt that shit. And it's kind of like black people have become a lot like the pigs in Animal Farm, where it's all about getting rid of Alex Jones. Well, not Alex Jones. It's about getting rid of Mr. Jones. And to me, white people represent Mr. Jones, and black people represent the pigs, and all these other things like trans and all these other subgroups. They're kind of like the other animals in Animal Farm.
Yeah, I it is true though. But yeah, Animal Farm was basically a book explaining what's wrong with socialism and communism. And these people are following the same patterns.
And 1984 apparently has become a handbook.
Yeah.
Who's Snowball in this scenario? Is it the patriarchy?
Well, actually, no. I mean, the patriarchy would be the farmer who got kicked off the farm. Snowball is feminism, is Black Lives Matter, is Antifa.
Snowball is the person they always blame for everything. Yeah.
Like, they kicked Snowball, they chased Snowball out of the farm. Remember,
right.
They chased Snowball out of the farm.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, it's too long ago that I... yeah, my bad. Fucking me.
And Snowball also fought bravely, and Snowball seems to genuinely care about the other animals.
Yeah.
Snowball, he came up with all of these great ideas to the other animals. He organized them. He fought bravely against the humans. And then Napoleon came with his black dogs
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
chased Snowball out of animal form, and
Yeah.
he was never seen or heard from ever again.
Yeah. Thank you for proving my idiocy. I'm sorry. You're totally right, though. I'm crap with names, but yeah, it's indeed not Snowball. It's Napoleon I was thinking about. Thank you for pointing that out.
Who is he supposed to be like in actuality? Like, is he supposed to be like Che, or is he supposed to be like Trotsky? I'm not really sure who he's supposed to be an analogous of, or is it just sort of a repeating pattern?
No, it's before. I think it was before Che Guevara period. But Che is Napoleon. Trotsky is Napoleon. Stalin is Napoleon. Lenin is Napoleon. I can't for the life of me think who would be Snowball.
Snowball initially is like the revolutionary that really believes, and then he becomes the person they blame for everything going wrong after they kick him off the farm. So that's why I like is patriarchy the snowball for feminists.
Yeah, maybe, but actually that's not really a bad analogy. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, which politician can we claim to be Snowball?
Anybody disagrees with this?
Well, Snowball was smart, reasonable, and he really cared about the other animals.
So I guess all politicians are off then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, no, but it's weird because you have a lot of stuff. For example, talking about how socialism, communism is bad, but there is actually explanation why. And Animal Farm is indeed a very good explanation why socialism is a bad idea. But I mean, even if we look at which countries do we revere? If we look at but look at that, communism worked there, or socialism worked there. Can we name one country?
I think communism might work in like smaller communities, but other than that, it's not a large scale thing that can actually work without too many people dying anyway.
Yeah, but it can't really work in small communities either. I mean,
sharing, self-providing community,
as long as everyone pitches in.
Yeah.
But that's fascism.
Well, it's just tribalism, or just like the earliest form of government, like it's just the way tribes organize.
Yeah, but as I said, that's fascism. That's basically what fascism is about. If everyone pitches in, we can do it together. It's weird. But even if we look at what capitalism stands for, because a lot of people seem to think, capitalism is bad. But capitalism in itself is also like, okay, the people on the top, they can earn a good money. That's true. But the people at the bottom still need to earn too, because you need to have people with buying power to create a market. In socialism, you don't want a market.
I think materialism is bad, but capitalist per se, I don't know.
I guess materialism becomes bad. I'm not sure if it really is.
She was a more deep political thinker. These things don't really just affect me day to day, other than shit I see on YouTube, unfortunately. I have a job. I buy things. I have bills. That's pretty much the long and short of it. And I think that's probably the problem with like the college age set. Like they don't have those things that really intrude on your ability to be utterly sold on a philosophy.
Yeah. But that's another thing, though. I don't think you should put all your apples in one basket. It's not like, this is perfect, so everything is answered by this. I mean, there are good things and there are bad things within everything. It seems that people start believing in something and then suddenly everything has to be good or bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why can't we say, well, there are good things in socialism? Because honestly, I think there are good things in socialism. But we shouldn't have 100% socialistic country, because if we do, then look at Venezuela. It's a rich country with a great growing temperature, climate. They have oil, and they're one of the poorest countries in the world. How the hell is that possible?
And they're using rare pepes for money.
And if we then look, for example, at America, for example, America used to be a capitalistic system. It's not. It's plutocracy at the moment. So now you see huge problems with income inequality and poverty and whatnot. But when it really was a capitalistic system, so let's say at the beginning of the 20th century to roughly beyond, just beyond the Second World War, there was huge growth, but that's gone because it's no longer a capitalistic system; it's a plutocratic system. But a plutocracy is basically what capitalism becomes when it's unchecked.
It's always felt that way. I don't know when the actual switch really happened. Probably the 80s when everything went on the market. Like when profit margins became more important than actual profits.
No. Problem was before that. The problem started when corporations were allowed to protect their ideas so that no one else could create anymore. I mean, it started with Walt Disney, of all people, basically saying, "Oh, you know what? That copyright idea for stories, yeah, let's prolong it." Even though they themselves got famous for stealing stories of other people.
Oh yeah, aren't most of their early works tales of Grimm?
True, but not just. I mean, I think one of the most famous Mickey Mouse cartoons is Steamboat Willie, which is basically a carbon copy of, what's the other one? Steamboat. I forgot the name.
Is it one of the Byworks ones, like Flip the Frog or something?
No, before that. Steamboat Willie is Mickey Mouse and I think, what's his name, Brutus or something like that. No, Boris. And it was based on another Steamboat movie. So we're talking about turn of the century, 20th century. And that's basically how Walt Disney got famous. That's how they started, more or less.
Isn't it also a problem that corporations have been given like a human right to it?
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck did that happen? Who thought that was a good idea?
It's a plutocracy thing.
That sounds like Reagan.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Reagan, to be honest. But it is a plutocracy thing. It is money equals people.
Wouldn't you also say that we live in a chronic capitalist system?
I don't know what crony means, to be honest.
No.
Crony, really tight buddies, like...
Yeah, but if you talk about protectionism, you cannot talk about capitalism, because capitalism and protectionism don't go together.
Because capitalism is just the free market. Right?
Capitalism is the 100% pure free market. There is no protection of anything.
If you fail, you fail, and you're fucked.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, I'm kind of torn on the intellectual property thing. Like, I think they should have. I think people who make content and things like that, like works of fiction, music, they should have like a window to solely profit off of it.
Okay, that's fair. How big of a window you think?
I don't know, 10 years. Yeah.
So currently,
Yeah, that's
it's
what I
5 plus 70 years.
Yeah, that's way too much.
How are you going to profit it when you're dead and 6 feet under?
Yeah, but then your family can profit off of it or something. I don't know.
Right.
No, yeah, that's pretty much what's happened. Like, let's take Fu Manchu, for instance. Well, he's one of the most tightly protected, like, fucking characters in the world due to his family's like constantly bird dogging any kind of use of the character's name or image or things like that of the author. And only recently has only a couple of his books fallen into public domain.
But it's amazing. Now, I mean, protectionism. Intellectual protectionism for books, stories, music, whatever. Yeah, sure. 10 years. I think 10 years is a bit much, but okay, let's put it on 10 years. But currently, it's way more than that. Look at
70 years.
It's life plus 70 years. So it starts counting after the creator dies.
Oh, okay.
But if we look at, for example, how do you call it?
In the case of music, doesn't it become the intellectual company of the company you signed with?
That depends on the contract you have with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Some people are like co-owners. Some people sell it all the way to their
Yeah.
publisher.
Okay.
I think
For example,
Paul McCartney owns a lot of Michael Jackson now, apparently.
yeah. Well, that's because Michael Jackson bought a lot of stuff of the Beatles, and eventually Paul McCartney thought, "Fuck you, I'm going to do what you did to me," which is weird. Anyway, but if we look at, for example, it's called copyright, but it's different. It's not copyright when we're talking about products like medication or
Patents.
technology. Yes, patents. Thank you. I couldn't find the word. But if we look at the longevity of patents as well, it's actually hindering progress, because
Oh, yeah.
a patent can be held hostage, more or less.
Indefinitely by making small little changes to it.
Yeah. This is what we're seeing happening in the pharma industry, for example, which creates a huge price increase in whatever people need. So yeah, there is that. It's scary how much we've gone from a liberal and capitalistic society in the Western world, not just in America, to a plutocratic society again in the Western world, not just America.
Could we revert it back, though?
That's a good question.
Because things that are in power tend to want to stay in power.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of the problem is, would we revert it back if we could? Like, no matter who we nominate for president, or who we nominate into the Congress and whatever, would they get us back there?
How can we bring ourselves back? Is it possible to turn around without revolution?
Oh God, I hope not. I mean, I hope so. Sorry.
And many people in the left want communism. It's like, we're going to do communism right this time. You see that on the left where they're like, no, I'm a communist.
Taking a look over the last, say, 100 years of revolutions, they haven't turned out well on the whole. They've always been replaced with something more garbage than before.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Or
don't get
pretty
me
much
wrong.
the same as what they had.
It's kind of what Churchill said. Democracy is the worst system possible, but it's the best system we have.
Well, I guess when people get too fed up, they start to rise up.
Yeah, but rise up to what?
I don't know. But the threshold is usually very, very bad shit happening. That's all I know.
I think that's the problem. In order for a movement to gain popularity, it has to be something simple that people can understand. But something simple people can understand will never work as a government, ever. So you're just replacing bad with worse in most of these cases.
It's always replacing it with either the same or worse.
That's the problem with getting popular support. Complicated things will never be popular. Ever.
Yeah, that does seem like a problem, doesn't it?
Oh Lord. I'm sorry, guys. I'm dying. I just popped on really shortly.
No, that's okay. Anyone, do we want to continue on this subject? Do we want to do something else, or are we going to call it a night?
I don't really have any more opinions to give, I guess, on the subject. I can't think of a new subject. We veered so far off topic already. So.
Yeah, that is true. We've been all over the place, and I don't want to turn it into a standard feminist bashing thingy, or
Nah, we
Black
don't
Lives
Matter.
for long enough.
Yeah, we could call it a night.
Alrighty.
Well, in that case, I want to thank you all for coming, especially in the chat. I am unfortunately not quite sure if I'm going to continue with a weekly Tom Sackwitter stream, because, well, I find it difficult to organize, and I love people coming. Thank you once again, Smurkus and Rin, and thank you, Roman. But yeah, it's difficult for me because I don't really always have topics, and it's difficult for me because I don't always reach people on whether they want to join or not. But if you people feel like, well, maybe you're wrong, or maybe you should try this or that, or blah blah blah, let me know. Drop a line in the comments, or send me a message to modwain@gmail.com. But for now, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to ask Roman, Rin, and Smurkus themselves to give us their last thoughts, and I'm going to start with you, Roman.
Shit. I think my last thought is one of peace and tranquility, and how I desperately need some NyQuil, and how it's so important to subscribe to my channel. That's the most important thing in the universe.
Yeah, link down below. Link down below.
Oh, Lord.
Smurkus.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. You can shield your channel. Come on, honestly, of course you can. And you should.
Oh.
But yeah, the links will be provided down below.
Well, yeah, come subscribe to my channel. I don't really do regular content. I still have some ideas for some more videos, but I guess I'll get to it when I get to it, because I'm also very heavily addicted to gaming, so that requires a lot of attention.
Okay, Rin.
Yeah, I am Rin Michalis, and Thursday's video is going to be about the monetization. It's going to be about how YouTubers are affected by YouTube, and I hope you guys check it out. And please subscribe to my channel if you like what I talk about. And not that long ago, I was talking about Islam. I talk about all kinds of things on my channel, so please subscribe.
Okay, well, in that case, that's all what we wanted to say. I have linked all of the information of the channels down below. I'm going to look at the chat one last time. Thank you for showing up, everyone. Thank you for your shit posting. Well, you weren't shit posting. You were well behaved and perfectly nice once again. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to call it quits. So for all of the people who just joined, come a little bit earlier next time, please. The captain, come on, mate. You could have come and be part of this stream. Unfortunately, you weren't. I really do think that's unfortunate, though. I really would love to have you around as well. Anyway, thank you, everyone, for watching, and till next time. And now I'm going to try and stop the broadcast, so this is going to take another few seconds. Guys, fill it up.